Alright, it is May the 7th, 21, just 1 minute till the market open. I have 3 stocks here, LTNC, GVSI, GGII. These are morning panic bounce play setup potentials. I would like to maybe see GGII uptrend some more. GVSI could do the downtrending. LTNC, only if it's really nice, really big. PSCO, LFAP, GBHI, these are all stocks I would like to see run more. Ideally some kind of uptrending stock setup. Nothing has to happen, but that's why you call it a watch list, and that's what I'm looking at. Hopefully morning panic bounce plays can work today. Whether it works or not, I'll try. Again, it's about buying when the level 2 reverses. You know, I just can't miss out. I don't mind if I don't get filled, but if I miss out, that's pretty bad. Okay, it's 9:39 a.m. I want to make an update. LTNC is probably one of the closest ones that I considered for a morning panic bounce play. The only problem is that at its lowest right here, it was down maybe 8%. So I would have liked it if it was dropping more. I did see the turn in level 2. In fact, I still have my entry, my limit entry at 357. I did see the turnaround, and I was also waiting for a big volume candle. It didn't happen until this one right here. Main issue, again, it just wasn't down that much, and I didn't think there would be that much of a good odds. It's at 37 now, which isn't bad from 35. I would have probably sold by now, maybe on this stutter step right here. So this is probably the closest one out of all of them. GVSI didn't really make that nice downtrend. Look at how clean LTNC was. If it did this move, but maybe instead of 8 it dropped 16 or 20%, that would have been much better. Maybe I'm just being too picky, but I just didn't think there would be that much range. I don't beat myself up too much for missing this one, just because of the fact that it is looking kind of bad in the daily chart, just being sold off every single day. But it did provide this opportunity. I probably should have just reacted better and just been a little more optimistic. GBSI again never provided much of a downtrend. GGII is doing an uptrend, which is nice. So that means no morning panic bounce play. PSCO, no volume. LFAP, not really going to consider this one. I would have liked it if it ran up more days than this. GBHL, not something I want to trade. It was only up 1 day. RETC I did consider because it was down 30% on the day. This is the first one I was looking at, but I wasn't too interested in trading this one because it didn't have that big red candle price action like an LTNC, which is very nice, and RETC is like down because of George Sharp news or something like that. So if news are involved, that could mean something totally different. So that's the reason why I haven't traded anything. Was also looking at DSCR. I was close, but if I would have traded it, it would have been here, but I just didn't do it because this is like not the best stock. It's kind of iffy. We didn't have that big volume candle until it happened here, but it continued to downtrend. This thing is choppy just because it didn't provide itself a nice run previously, so the pattern could work better. LTNC was the one that worked out of all of these. There was a chance where I could have bought. I just didn't do it because, again, I just didn't like all the other circumstances. The only thing that looked nice was the price action. Everything else was kind of bad. That's all I got at the moment. No setups, no trades that I'm too interested in. I'm just going to be looking for now. Alright, it's 10:06. I got in a very small, cheeky trade with ETCG. So this is like an OTC stock. It had its first red day, nice drop. And what I saw here was an inverse head and shoulder. So shoulder, head, shoulder. I bought at 10:03. So this candle I bought at 69, and I just didn't like the price action. If you can see in this shoulder, look how quick it was. It had red, and then it had a wick here, but it was also a green candle, and it had an uptrend, right? And then here we had that downtrend to make the head, and look how quickly it reversed. So I bought at this candle 10:03 just because it looked like it was potentially trying to work. It can still work, but I'm no longer that interested in it because it could be like a downtrending inverse head and shoulders. It was taking too long. And I bought at 69 again in this candle right here. Maybe could have done better with my entry, but this is a high priced OTC, so I don't mind it too much. And then 2 minutes later I sold at 69.08 at, where is it, 10.05 right here. I sold at 69 right about here, 69.08 give or take. Sure, I could have sold at a better price, but I just wanted to get out the trade because I didn't like the price action anymore. And it looked like I was right on getting out because the price action, you know, showed that it could downtrend, and that's exactly what it's doing. LTNC, I consider this stock for a higher low setup off of the morning panic bottom, which seems like it could be doing it right here. The issue is that I didn't get in because of the fact that this could all just be a confirmed breakdown under this 40 level. So it could be something where it's, you know, it's under 40, drops, bounces back, tries to get back to 40, didn't even get to 40, it got to 39, then it downtrends, and then it could just consolidate, and then it can downtrend some more. It could reverse, of course, but it is pretty low in the price. It is a pump, so, you know, maybe they have more inclination to keep the price higher, but at the same time, it's so late in the pump that maybe they just don't care that much anymore. Although it could totally reverse from here. GVSI, again, just no setup. It did have a downtrend, that was it. Feels salty now. I probably should have considered buying LTNC, even though it was only down like 8% on the day. I'm not trading like $30,000 position sizes. You know, my biggest size was 2,900, so, you know, I should probably just be more willing to trade them. So I just gotta get better at that. GG, I did do a nice uptrend. I did consider like a first dip under VWAP, but the VWAP doesn't work today on E-Trade. It just has a little mustache looking thing here. It doesn't show the entire VWAP, although it shows that it's under it if it's accurate. So no setups there. GBHL is uptrending, but I wouldn't be interested in this unless it does some kind of a nice breakout over 82, which is yesterday's high. If it does that, that would be much more interesting. That could potentially be a nice setup, but we don't have that right now, so nothing I want to trade right now at the moment. I'm just looking for setups, nothing that really sticks out. Okay, it's 10:31. I just want to make an update. The setup actually worked, just not when I wanted it to. I guess maybe I was being too picky, wanting it to be, you know, a higher low off of this wick. And although it kind of lowers the odds when it drops this much lower, it did work here. I mean, it went from 65 to 78. So that's pretty impressive. That's, you know, a 20% move. I was close. I bought here, sold here, because it was bad price action, and that price action led to more selling. When it broke that level of 68, it caught itself, held together, and it did it. Took longer than these two. It still did it, and we haven't reached the top yet. Pretty impressive. I don't see any setups that I want to trade. LTNC did do a reverse from here, but, you know, it wasn't that much range. Could have been better. Really regret missing this one. I probably should have traded it, even if it was only down 8% on the day. GVSI, nothing. GGII, nothing. It looks like it might make a head and shoulders if it keeps trading like that. GBHL, nothing. ETCG, again, that nice run up. 10:32, probably no more trades the rest of the day, but I'll keep looking. Alright, it's 11:04 a.m. GGII looking like it's trying to break. Super nice breakout opportunity here. And I tried buying at 38, 10:59, which was right here in this candle. Right here, yeah. Didn't get executed. Don't know if I'd still be holding, because 40 is a level of resistance. Even though we've broken the day high, 40 is just that nice even number that could cause an issue. It's just going to be a watch. Ideally it drops back to 38. holds 38, that would be a nice buy opportunity. Alright, it's 11:10, just an update. It could do an uptrend. I'm just not liking the price action that much. It could be putting up higher lows here. It seems like there's a lot of people on the ask, which is kind of throwing me off. In fact, if I trade this, it'll be a tiny position just to really learn. But you know, confirmed breakouts aren't always exact. It could always bounce drop a little below the breakout level and hold, but sometimes it doesn't and it just rounds off. So that's kind of what I'm fearing right now. I could risk it off of this wick. I could, but I don't know. It's just going to continue to be a watch. I don't mind missing this one just because the price action doesn't seem too nice, and it is 11, so not necessarily the best time, but I've seen a lot of nice breakouts, midday. Alright, it's 11:15. I tried a tiny buy here at 383. The time was 11:13, but I just kind of canceled it. I chickened out. I want to see if this thing can uptrend. If this thing drops, it's kind of it has a lot of pressure because it should do a nice uptrend. If it doesn't, if at any point it starts to downtrend, that's gonna make a lower high, and that's gonna be pretty bearish. There are still a lot of sellers on the ask, which just keeps throwing me off. They're probably short sellers because I don't understand who would be what kind of bag holder would be selling their stocks here. It's obviously short sellers on the ask. It's probably short sellers on the ask. If it breaks 40, that could make a nice squeeze, but yeah, people might just short it. That's what it seems like. It's putting up, at least right now. I mean, it could do a mini little baby stutter and continue an uptrend, but that's my worry right now. This thing could make a lower high, and that would be bad. I'll make an update whether this works or not. I might not trade it, and if I miss it, I mean, unless it's like at, unless it's at like 58 or something, I don't think I'll feel bad. If anything, it's, learning when to trade and when not to trade. So yeah, I'll make an update. I mean, the longer it holds this 38 level, the better. That's one thing for sure, but is it going to continue an uptrend? It probably could. Today's Friday. Markets are looking very nice. We're at all-time highs. RGBP did a similar move. That makes it more probable that something like this could happen. This one broke out, spiked, dipped, slightly higher than this level, and then it continued from 19 to 21 without a red candle. The highest it got to was 23. So that's what I'm looking at right now. I'm not sure if it'll work or not, but it totally can. The longer it holds 38, the better. But there are a lot of people, not right now, but there have been a lot of people on the ask. Okay, 11:31. I put a very aggressive trend line, and I didn't take any buys. I was considering maybe a buy when it was at the trend line, but I wanted to see some kind of buying price action. We didn't get that. Instead, we got this big red candle. So this thing could consolidate here in the highs and then do a breakout later, but clearly not going to be in this move, at least very not likely to be in this move right here. I'll continue to watch it, or maybe I'll just call it off for the rest of the day and work on other things in the meantime. I might miss this one. I'll make an update Monday if I don't provide any updates to see if this thing worked eventually, or I guess when I do a recap over this week on Sunday, I believe. So it could still work, but it didn't really work necessarily by this trend line, unless it just wants to take a cheeky little dip below it and immediately catch itself. Okay, 11:43. I'm not gonna waste a whole nother hour, although it could very well reverse here, maybe put up a double bottom. It failed that aggressive trend line I put. It didn't spike then and there. So now it's down here. It could fade away. It could totally just fade away, especially if it stays under 38 for too long. But it could also reverse an uptrend and do a nice breakout towards the end of the day. No setups right now. Just in case, I'll just call it off right here. LTNC Yeah, I missed it. I could have done it. It was just down only 8% on the day. Probably should have considered it anyway. GVSI, choppy panic, I guess. No trade for me there. Of course, GGII and GBHL, nothing interesting here. ETCG got as high as 79, so that's pretty impressive. Again, my buy and sell was here. Just didn't work out exactly here for this inverse head and shoulders, right? It worked here instead. Very nice move. A lot of shorts. I just figured a lot of shorts were going to be squeezed, right? Covering their positions, who didn't cover here for some reason, and a lot of momentum buyers, dead buyers like me. Just a very nice run up. Almost got to 80. RGBP, this one worked. I mean, it broke the day high. It tried here, it failed, it dipped. Then it got here, actually broke past it. This was a confirmed breakout. This is what I wanted with GGII. I wanted it to break the level, downtrend towards the level, hold, and immediately uptrend. We just don't have that here. It kind of broke out here, failed. That's fine. It broke out here, failed. But this is where it's supposed to hold the breakout level and uptrend, but it did this baby uptrend instead. Put up a higher low, which was nice, but then it didn't get past the day high here. It ultimately failed. I'm going to guess a lot of short sellers could still play out later today, just not when I wanted. Not the way RGBP was, which to me is very clean. So that's all I got. I'm just going to call it off. Overall, a pretty good trading day. Just had that one cheeky trade with ETCG. A buy here and a sell here. Ultimately, the inverse head and shoulders, you know, the bottom was for that here, and it did a nice uptrend. I don't mind missing that one, so I'm gonna call it off. Overall, just a pretty good trading day. Alright, it is 12:04. I'm actually gonna record this because I did do one more trade and it did not work. So HTZGQ, this is the stock I was interested in shorting, risking 4 the other day if I was able to short, but that wasn't the case. Today we had this nice drop from 4 to 3. The bounce was impressive, 3 to 350, so not that bad. It was at least a 10% move. And so my idea was that, you know, it was going to drop again. I was short the peak, sure, but I can't because, you know, this is very classic. This is like, you know, that trade Tim Grattani did with Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, so it just kind of gives off the same vibe. Big drop, bounce, and then drop again. But unfortunately, I did try a cheeky buy. It could bounce here. It might have just been too early. But I tried to buy at 12:01 right here, and the problem was is that it just kept downtrending, wristed off this wick here. So when it broke it, I immediately cut the trade. The idea is that it drops a lot, dip buyers jump in, short sellers are covering, and that's what's happening right here. I was just too early a bit. I was, what, 2 minutes too early, because I didn't expect it. I expected a higher low, but it actually made a lower low. Didn't make a double bottom. I guess you could kind of call it a double bottom, but I'd call it a lower low because it went from a wick to an actual candle. Alright, I've never seen that before. I don't have any slowness. I do have an issue with VWAP, but that's about it. I'll make one more update later today, maybe around the close, just to see what happened. GGII is just holding around this level. This could do a nice breakout at some point, but I don't mind if I miss it. It kind of sucks that, you know, it didn't work out with HTZGQ when I was in it, but it could continue a bounce here. But I've noticed there's a lot more people on the ask than usual. I would have expected more, but that wasn't the case. It was just a very tiny $7 loss, small position, just 100 shares. Good attempt. Could have been much worse. Could have worked out too. ETCG did work out eventually, but I don't know. There's just a lot more sellers here. I'll make one more update. If I had to guess, it can make an uptrend, but there are a lot of sellers on the ask. Alright, it's 12:38. This turned out to be a lot longer than I thought. HTZGQ Very impressive. It worked out eventually. The issue is I was too early. I bought at 201, 1201 right here, and I sold because now it just doesn't look like, now it just looks fine. But you know, back then you never knew. But I didn't take into consideration that 3 is a round number, and that could have been why it held even if it broke the day low here. So now we had the spike again. It could happen. I might consider another buy. I'll wait for a reversal. I won't try to go by a certain price or anything like that. It is what could be an uptrending inverse head and shoulders here, so potential setup. I might not trade. GGII just not doing anything. It could break out at any point though, but this is more interesting. It's just going to be a watch from now. Okay, it is 12:52 p.m. I'm going to call it off for real. So I had an idea this was going to be a potential uptrending inverse head and shoulders because neckline here was much higher than it was here. The spike was much bigger. And I had my limit was 47, but I would have been interested in getting it in the low 40s. It was starting to show that it could reverse. I kind of thought it would drop more, but it didn't. Issue is that we had these big green candles, so I'm not trying to chase a big green candle. It could have been excessive. It could have immediately downtrended and broke the pattern, so I'm going to call it off. Wow, it was very nice. You know, HTZGQ eventually worked out, and ETCG worked out as well. Inverse head and shoulders on both of these. Just a very impressive, you know, overall. Just have to keep, you know, learning these little things, these little caveats, these little intricacies, and just keep getting better, and I'm sure I'll be closer to nailing it. I went from missing these setups to, you know, now like actually trading them. Now it's just really nailing it. Really worked out in the end, you know. I mean, I sold at 307, bought at 314, but you know, it never got under 3, which I should have realized back then that, you know, 3 was that level of support. It could have been another level. Maybe I was too early on my entry, but I could have bought more considering that it's going to hold 3 potentially, and I can risk off of that. Nice move from 307 to 360, so that's a 20% move right there. Pretty impressive. This dip is nice too, 337 to 363, so roughly 10%. Didn't like this, didn't expect big green candles like this. Expected more of an uptrend like this, but hey, really good trading day. 2 trades, didn't work out perfectly, but the setup was pretty much there. I just have to keep going at it. Really happy with myself. I do regret missing that LTNC dip by opportunity. I'll be ready next time for that, even if it's a small percentage. I guess 8 is going to be my minimum, because if it's like a 5% drop, that's not something I want to trade. It has to be at least 8%. That's pretty much what it was here, and it looked very clean too. If it was just a random 8% drop, but not this clean, probably would have disregarded it, but this one was very clean. So nice morning panic bounce play here, and this was a nice inverse head and shoulders. First red day. HTZGQ first real red day. Inverse head and shoulders as well, and consider that follow-up buy. Lots of shorts covering their sells, their shorts I mean. Yeah, just some nice setups. Gonna call it off once again. A really good trading day. Happy to end the week like this. Hope I can do better next week.